since the Industrial Revolution, we have 200 years of fossil fuel history behind us. And so development, industrialization has happened based on fossil fuels, oil, coal, and gas. And about 30, 40 years ago, we became aware of the changes that this has given to planet Earth. So humanity has known, and certainly the political leaders have known now for several decades, that we are facing an increasing threat to humanity and to planet Earth due to fossil fuels. Climate change is happening. It's here now. It has affected major parts of the world with changing weather, droughts, floods, higher sea level, melting ice at the polar caps. We are in a dramatic part of human history. And the only way it can be changed is by humanity itself. Otherwise, planet Earth will respond by dramatic challenges to humanity. We live as human beings in around 200 different nations, countries. They have different history, different backgrounds, different stages of development, different governments. The only possible solution to face climate change as an example of the threats we are facing with regard to planet Earth and its future is to work together across those countries and be able to face and to address the changes that are urgently necessary. Now, this has proven to be difficult because countries are used to thinking more from a national than from an international perspective. And they look upon the changes needed as something that can challenge their own national policies and be difficult to achieve. So we are in a situation in the world where while we have one Earth, we don't have one world. Since the report Our Common Future in 1987 that addressed these issues and called for urgent change, things have happened. We have had the Climate Convention already in Rio. We have the Kyoto Protocol 5 years later, and still the movement ahead that we need is falling far behind what we need. It illustrates how humanity so far has not been able sufficiently to get its act together across the borders and to face a common challenge with a common set of determined efforts. Yes, most of the problems have been created by the rich world. And so the rich world has to find ways also, with regard to accountability and implementation of the kinds of promises or pledges that were made from 92 onwards about helping overcome the differences, improving equity, and making it possible to move towards sustainable development. But I also said in the beginning here, or earlier, that the balance of these responsibilities have changed. So your country, China, and your leadership has also understood, I think, that they have to start cracking, doing changes in their own society because environmental problems are hitting Chinese. It's not as if it's hitting Norwegians or Americans. It's hitting them. So they are moving for their own benefit. So it's an illustration, I think, of we have to be helpful and giving more finance resources to help people out of poverty and to make this in every country helping. But the major powers and big parts of the world have to do important changes in their own societies too. It is a very difficult situation that we are lagging behind while the climate changes continue to grow. And that's why it's important that not only at the combined international level, but that in every nation and in every local community, people become aware that we all have to contribute because we don't have much time. We are losing out, and it is ruining, the potential for future generations. We do have only 10, 15, maximum 20 years to make major changes. Now, this is important for everyone to realize. The weakness of our system of governance. The weakness is such that although many people in many governments across the world know what's necessary, the ability to do what's necessary when you cross nations and cross different national interests, pushing them to do things together, there's a big gap in implementation. And I think one thing that can help move governments together and see the same way on crucial issues is exactly that people from different countries share opinions, share experience, have a same common cause that can push governments in different countries to think alike. So that's what can contribute. Everyone can make that contribution from their own, if they share and if they move and have agreement on certain really key issues. It can influence governments that struggle about how to take the right decisions. Meaningful change in any society, and of course across the world, is based on the conviction of people. There is no way to just sit, on your own, thinking that all responsibilities are placed in governmental leaders. Because first of all, people in all our democracies, and they are in most countries, we elect our leaders. So from the beginning, we are responsible to elect the right leaders. So we have to be politically engaged. We have to participate in our societies and have an opinion. But then, even the leaders who are elected need to be reminded, need to be supported, need to feel that the public is willing to participate in what's necessary. Then from that level of principles, of course, if you look at each person, each family, in some way, each family can make a difference in the way they bring up their children, in the way they speak with their neighbors, in the way they try to influence the curriculum at the local school, or by being part of an NGO activity in some area that promotes the future of humanity. So whether you want to be politically active in a political party, or you engage locally in your own community, or in NGO activity, you can always, everyone can make a difference. And certainly, some countries, the election participation is below 60%. I always say to people, if you don't even vote at parliamentary and governmental elections or local elections, how can you complain about anything that's wrong in your society? We all are responsible, not only governments, businesses, all organizations, every individual, every family. We can all make a difference.